So the clock has now struck 2. So welcome to this webinar. My name is Per Larssons. I'm Head of Sustainability and Public Affairs for Ragn-Sells Group. I'm also steering committee member for UNEP's Global Partnership on Nutrient Management. This is one of several webinars that we will hold on the phosphorus topic, where we showcase what are the potential, what can be done to recirculate phosphorus. My own company have developed solutions for especially the megacities, for the large populated areas, but phosphorus are everywhere, and we need to have multiple solutions to make sure that they are recovered. Why do we need to recover phosphorus? 3 things. First, we see that too much phosphorus in the wrong place ends up in huge problems when it comes to eutrophication. That causes problems in the environment. Secondly, we need phosphorus to produce food, and many countries doesn't have access to their own phosphorus reserves. To be honest, there's very few places in the world where there exist mined phosphorus reserves. Thirdly, if we can't meet that, people will starve. So we need to make sure that we recirculate as much as possible. And this will be very important in the years to come, when we more or less will be dependent on one mine in 2100, and that is the mine in Morocco. So I would like now to introduce you to our today's host that will guide us through the webinar, and that is Dr. Will Brownlee from UK Centre of Hydrology, and he will guide us and show the different examples. And then before we end, I'd like you to share the knowledge to other examples you believe that we should showcase in future sessions. So by that, I hand over to Will to continue and introduce our 3 keynote speakers.
Thanks, Pa. Wonderful, great to have everyone here online. We've got some great talks today. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Hans Kleiverdal. He's the Executive Vice President and Head of Business Development for the Climate and Environmental Projects at NORCE. That's the Norwegian Research Centre. He has a PhD in biotechnology, over 10 years in industry. Altogether, that's 20 years of leader experience in research and development. So you're in good hands. He has a focus on industrial biotechnology, circular economy, and sustainable industry. Hans has led several national and international projects. Recently, he's been developing the EU project AquaPhoenix, which is focusing on collecting fish sludge from salmon farms in fjords across Norway. So Hans, over to you to tell us a little bit more about AquaPhoenix and the work you're doing there.
Thanks, Will, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to present to you the EU project that we've been just started. Actually, we had the kickoff meeting just a couple of weeks ago. So this is a European project that is certainly addressing the challenges that Per introduced about taking care of our resources and about sustainable food production without putting too much nutrients into the ecosystems. The AquaPhoenix project came out of the zero pollution vision from the European Commission, their strategy to have a more balanced ecosystem. And one of their targets was to reduce nutrient losses by 50%. Now, the call on demonstrating how regions can operate within safe ecological and regional nitrogen and phosphorus boundaries came out in 2024. And we were successful in getting this project. And what we address is the aquaculture industry. And the aquaculture industry with the example of Norway and also the Baltic Sea. So this is actually an industry with a fantastic 50-year history. The production last year was 1.5 million tons of salmon and trout, and that's equivalent to about around 40 million nutritious meals every day. The production systems is, as you can see here, open pens. That's the conventional and most used production method. And then you also have the closed systems at sea. This is to control the sea lice, and the pathogens that can attack the salmon, but also to hinder the sludge release into the fjord. And then there are also other systems that rely on land-based systems, which also can collect the sludge and hinder any of the natural pathogens in the sea. This industry has great potential for food production. As you can see, in one of these rings has the biomass equivalent to 2,000 cattle of 500 kilos. So it's incredibly intensive. And of course, the welfare and the release is also strictly regulated. But one step back, the release is regulated, it's monitored, but what we really see is that this is not getting better in the fjords where we see a high production level. However, it is regarded as one of the most sustainable animal protein produced globally in several studies. But the challenges is really when it comes to the industry that in order to grow and produce more food, the industry needs to do something with the climate footprint. So in Norway, the aquaculture industry, as an example, has a climate footprint of around 7 million tons CO2 per year. But in Norway, there is a climate target for the whole of Norway to get down to 22 million tons of CO2 by 2034. So we see that this industry, as an example, cannot simply grow as it's running with business as usual. So we need to transform the industry, the ways of working, the ways of using the resources, and that's going into a more circular mode. The challenges is really what goes in and what comes out of the salmon. The feed ingredients constitutes 80% of the climate footprint, and of course the fish sludge, almost 300,000 tons a year along the Norwegian coast. This is a heavy burden on the fjord and the ecosystems where the fish production is going on. So we need innovations, not only technology innovations, but also system innovations. So as you can see, this is a typical fjord in Norway, and you see the open pen to the right, upper right. So as also Per said, this is causing eutrophication, but also anoxic fjords. And I think that what we are losing here is not only nutrients, but also energy. So in order to collect this sludge before it reaches the sea bottom is the most effective way of handling this challenge, but also to exploit these opportunities. So we need to see how this collection of sludge can be done in scale, and how we can recover the phosphorus and extract the nitrogen, and also how we can develop these value chains so that this is being scaled up, and not only in Norway and the Baltics, but also globally. So the EU project, as Will said, we have 16 partners with us, both research partners, fish farmers in Norway and in Åland, which is the island group outside Finland in the Baltic Sea. And then we have 6 technology developing companies. but also regional authorities support the environmental management and how to regulate the new technologies and the solutions that we come up with. So the budget, it's running now from this January to over the next 4 years, and the budget is 9 million euros. So here you can sort of see the outline of what we are doing. If we go to the bottom left, the situation is now that the sludge is in the seafloor. So getting it up collecting it already in the open sea pens and filtrating away the water, storing and have a logistics change for transporting it to shore, where you can get the bioenergy out, the phosphorus out, and also the nitrogen. And by that, establishing a value chain to reach this potential. And on the top there, you can also see the work package structure. We are also during the study, we're also going to monitor very heavily the seabed floor, the benthic ecosystems, but also the pelagic. So how this sludge collection can give effects in the water column. So developing this value chain, we have the partners we need. We have the fish farmers to the left, and although the technology partners along the value chain. The sludge collection process is done by having special nets around the open pens. And you can also see here special pumps that can pump out not only the sludge, which is actually a mix of unused feed pellets, but also dead fish, which there is a certain amount of dead fish in addition to this fish poo as well. And this is pumped on a barge or on shore. It's on belt filters, as you can see to the right. It's coming like this, and it has to be stored safely without developing of gases like hydrogen sulfide or other noxious gases. So it's about collecting it, it's about transporting it to shore, and on shore we have ST1 Biocraft, which is the company to receive the sludge from ships making biogas. Now this company is well established. It has 12 plants around the Nordics and already produces biogas equivalent to 550 gigawatt hours. So they are now developing or adopting the biogas process to handle the salt content of the fish sludge. The next partners that will take over the sludge ash is a Swedish company called Easy Mining. They have a technology to recover phosphorus from the fish sludge quite effectively, and they get phosphorus at a very high purity. And this phosphorus can be used for a variety of applications, but also it can be returned back to the production of fish feed. The potential to recover the entire phosphorus from the fish sludge in Norway could reduce the import to Norway by 40%. So this is a significant volume. The Easy Mining also has a process on a two-step process on extracting the nitrogen from wastewater and from the sludge after biogas. And this is also vital to take out the nitrogen so that the bio residuals can be explored for spread on used in agriculture without the strong or the high levels of phosphorus and nitrogen. The last step we are also doing in scale is to use these both the energy, nitrogen, and the phosphorus into microalgae production. So the microalgae, depending on the strain, we can get very high levels of protein and omega-3 fatty acids, which is crucial for the salmon industry at least. And this is also sort of completing the circle. And this is also going to be demonstrated in scale. So the entire value chain will be installed over the next year and demonstrated in scale over 2 full years. And we have now 5 big production sites in Hardangerfjord in Norway, and 2 smaller sites in Åland. So the concept is, as you can see here, collecting the sludge, monitoring the effects of doing that on the ecosystems, and by taking away the nutrient burden and the sludge burden on the ecosystems, this may allow a higher level of production in the fjords. It's not taking away everything, because this is, as you know, nutrients that will go into the water masses. But the technology is being optimized, and this is something we are going to work on during the project. So developing the value chains and to extract the nutrients, the phosphorus, and trying to making the circle complete, making aquafeed from the microalgae. And this is a concept we've called sludge collect. And I think that this it has great potential, but it must be led by also innovation in regional governance and policy, because we need to see the effects, and we need to understand the effects and what can be achieved, so that the burden of production and the way we use this technology is balanced. So I'll end there by saying that this is indeed a large-scale collective effort to collect the sludge, to reduce the nitrogen and phosphorus emissions, and rebalance the NP flows in fjord systems, but also in the Baltic Sea. And the need is there, the potential is there, the technology is being developed and integrated. So it's not all about now the partners. And as they say in Eindhoven, it's innovation is 80% technology innovation, and 20% technology innovation and 80% human innovation. And that's about collaborating and leaning towards each other. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Hans. A brilliant talk, really exciting technology you're developing there. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that at the upcoming European Aquaculture Workshop, which is being put on by the European Sustainable Phosphorus Platform on the 10th to the 12th of this month in Bergen, which you'll be talking at, Hans, of course. I'll put a link in the questions to that if anyone's interested in hearing more about this topic specifically for a whole workshop. So the next speaker we have is Talent Daddy, and I'm not entirely sure whether he is here and available, because it seems there were some technical issues occurring, and he keeps on admitting into the room. Talent, are you there? I think if we cannot get hold of Talent, Mercedes, we may just jump onto your talk if you're ready for that. I'll give another minute for Talent just to respond, because I've just let him back into the room for I think the 6th time in the last 10 minutes. Talent, are you there? I think we can safely assume that he's having technical issues. So let's move on straight over to Mercedes. So Mercedes is based in Uruguay. She's a freshwater biologist, specializing in integrated environmental assessment, particularly at the catchment scale. She works with advanced methodologies and tools to evaluate water quality, She's based at the Water Quality Department at the Ministry of Environment in Uruguay, as we've said, where they develop actionable insights that inform evidence-based decision-making in environmental management. Her work is shared through a range of different technical reports, dissemination workshops, and active engagement with a range of stakeholders, including the UNEP and myself. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from Mercedes, who is going to provide us a little bit of insight about phosphorus recovery and recycling at the Uruguay scale. Over to you, Mercedes.
Okay, I think I'm going to share.
And we'll keep trying while Mercedes is logging in here. We'll keep trying to find if we can get hold of talent and go. And if we can't, we'll shift on to a longer question session.
Okay, wait, can you see my, wait a minute, please.
We can see it, it's working perfectly, or it was.
Wait. Okay, so, wait, sorry.
No worries at all. No worries at all. This is the joys of online workshops.
Okay.
Just think of the time everyone is saving from not queuing up at airports to talk to each other, and the environmental footprint we're benefiting from. That's
okay,
grand.
Can you see it as a presentation, or you see my notes here?
I can see your notes.
Okay, so let's. It's not working.
It was okay actually before. If you whatever you did the first time round seemed to work.
Okay. Okay. Okay, and now can you see my?
Wonderful. Yeah, working great.
Okay. So thank you very much for your invitation and the possibility to share Uruguay experiences regarding nutrient recovery and management. So okay, just to put some context, I want to share where my country is. We are in a small country in South America. We have a 3.4 people living here. However, in the last 30 years, we have improved in terms of equity and poverty, and we are a country where we have we live actually the main market is beef production. In general terms, Uruguay uses 95% of its area for beef production. We have almost 12 million cattle here in Uruguay, and well, the main production is like this grass-fed beef production, which is has high standards of quality, is highly sustainable, is carbon friendly, to say it in a way. But we have a lot of cows here. We have a ratio of 4 cows for Uruguayan. So if in terms, just to put some context here, if we compare how much is the ratio of livestock to human, like in France is like being like has 17 heads, and in this ratio in Europe of livestock to human weight, like 1.5, and in terms of human and livestock excretions, like in 9.6. I have this same estimation about what is our situation here. And we have like a ratio of 19.6 human to livestock to human. So I know we are a small country with a low population, but even if we multiply by 4 our population, we would still be very high in terms of the mass of animals here in Uruguay. Because I am just putting this into context because we are like this extensive beef production, but we have a lot of cows. And if you can see the map on the left on top, we can see the distribution of animals. We have all our country with animals. And we have this identified of hot spots and cold spots, where the hot spots are these places where like there are permanently cows there. So we have this dairy farming, very old industries here, but we are going into this industry called like steer finishing, where animals concentrate for gaining weight. And this industry is growing for the last 10 years. So as you see, we have this like a lot of energy put into nutrient control in agriculture. However, not much attention is being paid in terms of animal production. We still have a lot of water quality problems, huge mass events of blooms, algal blooms, and eutrophication, which have increased in the last 5 years or 10 years. So, so as I was telling you, we have this 160 feedlot establishments. This is the 2023 data. So this kind of steer finishing production attached to this development value change with slaughterhouses and this possibility of exportation has this highly profitable economic change has increased for the last 10 years, and not so much attention is being paid in terms of nutrient management. So here we have a huge challenge regarding how to improve the circularity in terms of nutrients and in terms of sustainability. However, dairy farming in Uruguay is like it's like an older industry in terms of agri-industrial change, and it's been increasing in milk production and efficiency. So for the last the tendency is to go into big establishments and the loss of small producers. However, these huge, these big establishments are being controlled by the Ministry of Environment, and so the industrial sector. However, several studies are being carried on that demonstrate that there is more to be done in terms of recycling in terms of nutrients. Still not lots of phosphorus especially is being lost into the waters. However, there's been this big project that ended like 2 years ago called BioValor. Well, they tried to look for this revalorization of all the industrial sector, and it's a huge antecedent for moving into this new framework about circular economy that has just been published. I'm going to tell you in the next slides. In terms of management, there's this balance focus, a balance approach, which some producers go to it, but it's not it's not like mandatory. In terms of the industrial sector, there's this tendency of a shift towards reusing and revalorization and into circular economy. And this BioValor project has made a lot of good experiences in these terms. There's a lot of 4.0 technologies like recovering phosphoric acid in the bottling industry and the cleansing of the tanks. There's some funding from several different sectors, private and public. And in terms of this regulatory framework, there's this national circular economy strategy. We have a resid law. We have environmental impact assessment law, which these all big industries need to go through. We have a ISO unit circular economy framework. We are compromised with UN GBNM, and we have some water quality standards, the 253 law, which is being revised now and wants to get gray waters into these water quality standards. So as I told you, there's a lot of industries that are being controlled and monitored in real time for industries and for freshwater systems. All the information is available. We have this commitment to the public, that is public information. And we have a lot of frameworks and plans and actions that are needed to be carried on to put the house in order. Like, for example, the National Strategy of Circular Economy, which was published last year, by the end of last year, and it's going to start in terms of animal production in the dairy sector. However, as I told you, the main challenge here is for this steer finishing industrial change, which has a lot of actors across in this sector and are a little entangled. So the next step should be moving into this beef production strategy to reduce and recycle and manage nutrients. So we, as a small country, we have examples for nutrient recovery. And the scale of our country is like it's ideal for experimental environmental to develop and invest in nutrient revalorization and promote innovative solutions. However, I think that our scale, it's also a challenge because for these actions of circularity and recovery, maybe a bigger scale is needed in terms of being also economic favorable. However, we have a good legal framework that has fostered individual efforts in nutrient recovery. And I hope with this circular strategy that may organize and promote these efforts. And as I told you, while a lot of progress has been made in nutrient recovery within animal production, especially in dairy farming, we need to move forward into this beef production, which is in terms of greenhouse emissions, it's like very balanced. In terms of management of the nutrients, it's not as much and needs to be improved in that sense. So I think that's my presentation. Thank you very much.
Mercedes, thank you so much for that fascinating talk. Always good to hear about how things are going in Uruguay, a country which I've been lucky enough to travel around last year, with you, and look at some of those great sectors there and some of those very precious lakes you've got there that are worth looking after. So we've had a bit of difficulty getting talent online. Ning has emailed while we're on the call to ask if I can introduce the Upcycle project, which I work on. So it's not on the menu, but I guess I will talk about the Upcycle project without much preparation very quickly for 5 minutes, and then we'll shift on to questions. So I've rarely done a talk with quite so little preparation, so you'll have to forgive me if I don't quite manage to be as succinct as normal, but we'll just go for it and see where we get to. Okay, so let's see if I can share my screen. Okay, sorry, 2 seconds. So I'll start telling you while I work out what is going on with my screen. So the Upcycle project, which is the project that I help run with members of my group that I work with at the UK Centre of Ecology and Hydrology, which is in Edinburgh, is funded by the Global Environment Facility. The funding goes through the UN Environment Programme, and we're working alongside with the Global Partnership for Nutrient Management, of course, who are hosting the workshop. If I can manage to get my screen, I think here we go. There we go. Can people see that?
Yes. We can
yep.
See,
okay. So the project is bringing together global communities to deliver a sustainable phosphorus future to protect our freshwaters and coastal ecosystems. So it's very much focused on the lake end of the phosphorus cycle as it flows through terrestrial environments. We're focusing on the lakes, but of course, focusing on the lakes and improving and maintaining water quality can only be achieved through understanding what's going on the land. So a lot of it's to do with the land. The mission is to widen the scope and accelerate the development of phosphorus emission reductions programs globally. So we're pulling together experts from around the planet that are focusing on lake management, but also experts on all of those phosphorus emitting sectors and phosphorus recycling indeed. So the Upcycle approach is that we're going to develop a scalable, nature positive approach to sustainable phosphorus management. So in doing that, we are championing reuse and recycling of phosphorus to tackle biodiversity loss, water quality degradation, and the societal impacts that come from that. And we're recognizing lakes as the key sites of phosphorus pollution. So through that, Upcycle is driving urgent clarity on the impacts and solutions of phosphorus pollution while fostering inclusive collaboration with the local land managers all the way to the global scale. So the commitments, or really a sort of high-level overview of what we're delivering in the project, is that we're providing clarity on global phosphorus emissions. So that's being done through a number of online tools. There's going to be a mapping tool where you'll be able to fly around the world online and see which lakes are particularly at risk of phosphorus pollution. And when we say risks, we'll be indicating or developing different indicators depending on what you see as your main risk, whether that's biodiversity or whether that's water quality loss, or whether that's methane emissions through algal blooms. The second thing that we are committing to is a global community behind the upcycle framework. That effectively is getting those experts together that know how to deal with these issues and developing a simple process, an instruction manual, if you will, on how to fix that lake and look at the catchment scale to develop phosphorus control on the phosphorus flowing through the land, and indeed try and capture that phosphorus pollution and turn it into the solution, i.e. turn it into fertilizer and try and transition to a circular economy. And then we're demonstrating that those two tools, so the tool from where the phosphorus problems are to the instruction manual how to deal with it, and we are demonstrating that in Chile. So we're working with the Chilean Ministry of Environment, and indeed we're actually made lots of good friends across Latin America throughout this project, Mercedes being one of them, and we hope to develop that work on how to deal with lakes across catchment studies within Latin America in the next decade or so. So when we just recently we did a livestock a workshop in intensive livestock, and I thought this would be good just to have a look at this very quickly, because this is a phosphorus recycling workshop. So I'm going to spin through to the findings of that workshop. So that workshop was held in Brittany in France a month ago, and that was getting all the intensive livestock sector into one room, and academics and different recycling companies, phosphorus recycling companies, and really to say, how do we recycle phosphorus from intensive livestock sectors? So what we thought the solutions and the opportunities from that workshop were is manure management, improved manure collection, treatment and targeted application. That was a big solution and opportunity. Technologies to process manures into concentrated fertilizers. This is bread and butter for many on the call, I'm sure. Precision agriculture, matching phosphorus application to crop needs using soil testing. So we've got to know how much phosphorus is in the soil and make sure that manure matches it and don't over add phosphorus to the grounds. Dietary adjustment, so that's looking upstream, so making sure that the livestock are only eating the phosphorus they need for growth and they're not losing lots of that phosphorus from the feed in their wastes, and taking on that circular economy approach, so recycling phosphorus from the wastewaters and also other organic sources. And then finally, the way forward was combining best practices in feed production, in manure management and application, so integrating practices. You need policy support, so incentives for phosphorus recovery and recycling technologies, research and innovation, so developing phosphorus efficient crops and feed additives. So that's certainly something that I'd like to talk about more before the end of the call. Is we're looking at recovery and recycling, but how do we actually make sure that it's then used in crops? What's the glass ceiling with farmers using these products we're making? And then global collaboration. So this is addressing regional imbalances in phosphorus availability and use. And perhaps we need a call to action, something large that's saying sustainable phosphorus management is key to ensuring food security and protecting ecosystems. Maybe we need a global call for action, something like a UNEA resolution, perhaps. So that was a very ad hoc chat from me on the Upcycle project, some of the work we're doing there. So I now pass over to the talkers. Perhaps we could answer some questions as a team. Is there any questions that people have put into the question that and answers part of the talk, and maybe we can answer some of them. Now, maybe I've got the wrong window here. No. Let's see. If there are no other questions from those listening, Ludwig Herman. Ludwig, hello. Would you like to turn on your mic and ask a question?
Yes.
Hi, Ludwig.
Okay, you hear me now? You hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
So, hello, I have a question for Mercedes. You have most of your cattle is grazing freely without being in farmhouses or in cattle houses. So how do you catch, or how could you reduce the lost nutrients? It looks like similar to catch the nutrients from salmon in Norway, but they have at least a cage. The cattle doesn't have a cage. They are running around on grassland. How do you do that? Or how do you imagine to do that?
Okay, thank you for the question. No, actually, the most of historically the cows are grass fed, and it's like an extensive beef system. However, since 2014, this kind of steer finishing has increased and concentrated, and it's almost double for the last 10 years, and this industry is going to grow. And this steer finishing is it's like a feedlot. So these are like for 4 to 6 months, depending on the weight they need to gain. They are concentrated there, and they are fed with highly protein and food. Sorry for the language barrier. So in that sense, there are some regulations regarding how to manage the manure. But there is a problem that all the manure that is produced, it's the area to make, maybe like to apply it on the field for cropping, it's not enough. So a lot of nutrients are lost because there's a lot of manure production. There's this separation from solid and liquids, but it's the area to put all that manure or like the liquid phase. It's not circular, the system. It's still we need to go through some solution to reuse that manure that is produced in these feedlots, which are like, it's a highly concentrated place with a lot of animals, and there are like many times in the year there. So like 4 times in the year, with a lot of concentrated cattle to fatten. You know what I mean? So the problem is not in the extensive system where phosphorus levels in the soils are not so crazy. That if you compare it with dairy farming and the soil the pea soil levels, the phosphorus levels in soil. I don't know if I answered your question. The problem, so to conclude, the problem is not with this extensive grass-fed system, but with the steer finishing and the feedlots and the animal concentration and the supplementation, which there is a lot of focus to be done in an industry that is increasing here and it's being promoted.
Thank you. Do you use biogas from the manure?
Yes, in some places it's being promoted and used, but it's not very much extended.
Thank you, Mercedes. Pa, you have a question related to this?
Yes, I have a quick follow-up question. So it means that, Mercedes, you're moving from grass-fed cows, that you also become dependent now on feed phosphate, then for the cow production, and that mean that you need to import the phosphorus to the more extensive production. Is that correct?
So the feeds are sometimes are like for some part of the feed in these feedlots are produced here with crops. Some are imported, and and if this economic configuration is going to increase, more is going to be needed from imported. I mean, we're still extensive, but this is an industry that is increasing, so we need to watch out there and take some care. Yeah.
Thank you, Mercedes. Thank you, Pa. I realized that I put my hand up even though I'm moderating, so that doesn't make any sense at all. But anyway, I had a question. I wanted to bring Hans into the conversation here. I know Uruguay has quite a modest aquaculture sector, but when we fly across the other side of Latin America, we see Chile with a huge aquaculture sector. My question really is, so you have all these aquaculture guys, fish farmers. Is there a financial support or any other incentives to help them, use your technology, Hans, to get involved in that?
Yeah, that's sort of the barrier. There's a regulatory barrier and the investment barrier, and I guess that's also the case with you, Mercedes. The farmers, so they can be incentivized to test out new technology, to test out new systems, but from what we see, that is not enough to get them really invest into solutions, because they need to see that the market is there for their solutions, for taking the solutions into use. So the regulatory aspects of reusing the new products, the recovered phosphorus, the recovered ash, and is indeed more important than the incentives to test out technology, of course. So, but the incentives for the Norwegian fish farmers is that if they can make this work and burden the fjords less, they may be allowed to produce more salmon in the fjords, and have a still upholding a good balance. Still upholding a good balance within their industry. But I think it's about like also Mercedes says, it when it's not mandatory, and it's not mandatory because the solutions aren't really defined. So both it's also more a regulatory innovation as well as a technology innovation as well as a system innovation. So I think it's a complex matter, but like you said, Mercedes, it's about and also you, Will, it's about showing some solutions, some ways to go, and try to demonstrate that and get the first farmers to start using that, start engaging.
Thanks, Hans. I mean, I think that certainly that's what we're trying to develop through the upcycle is really a suite, a package of different measures that different emitting sectors can take, whether that's livestock, whether it's aquaculture. And of course, there's what we're trying to really show is that there's a huge range of opportunities to deal with these polluting streams of phosphorus, which can also make money for the users. So you end up turning a pollution into a source of green economy growth, which Pa is the champion of, really developing that. But I mean, the idea of a pollution source which is causing huge global impacts, that the solution is so obviously there, which is to turn it into a fertilizer to secure food security. It seems like a win-win, and it seems like a very obvious thing to do, but those barriers, transitioning farmers' behaviors from something they've done an awful lot using mineral fertilizers all their life to transition them to a more sustainable approach, I think that can be one of the big challenges. I'm looking through our big group of people online, and I'm not seeing any hands up any more. So I would say with that last 5 minutes, Ning, who is online, I believe, maybe want to do a wrap-up comments, unless our speakers wanted to add any more.
Okay. And
No, any more from the Par or Hans or Mercedes?
Well, I noticed there's a question in the chat.
Oh,
in
is
the
there?
chat box. Yeah. So
Let's see.
someone is asking sending manual through fermentation use the gas and retrieve less nutrients loaded digested is not a solution. So someone is asking this.
I think that's
Maybe it's for me.
I think that's for you, Mercedes. Yeah.
Yes.
Many manure through fermentation the gas. Yeah, it's the thing. The problem is the scale. It's like they use it, but it not like more like a house or householdings and small scale. And sometimes the volume you produce, it's so big that it cannot be well managed. I think there's a way to go through regarding how to manage manure. For example, in Uruguay, you cannot revalorize manure in feedlots. There's not a legal framework. So in this sense, there's like you said, Will, like new opportunities has to be ¿cómo se dice? Like new opportunities needs to be put on the table in order to talk and exchange with this sector and the government in order to move forward into this revalorization, because this it's a term, it's a thing of economic return. So if it's not worth it, they don't promote it, and if there is no legal boundaries, you don't do it. So it's not the only solution, the digestate. There's a lot much to be done.
Thank you, Mercedes. And Par, you have a lead-on question from that in the last couple of minutes, and then Ning can wrap up.
Oh, yes, the final comment. I think that what is important is that we do have different sources of nutrients in our water streams. And I think it's very important that we protect our coastal areas around the world. The first one is, of course, agriculture. The second one is untreated or badly treated wastewater. And the third one is industrial applications. The wastewater and the industrial applications are more easy to manage. So put focus on recycling from those activities, like fish farms. Then agriculture, monitor and give the support for the farmers, how much runoff there are of nutrients. They will also be able then to reduce the cost, and then also make sure that in their near water areas, they will then risk to have less nutrients runoff and then less eutrophication. So that's my conclusions after this session here.
Thank you, Par. And thanks to all our speakers today. Great show.
Okay, so on behalf of the Secretariat of Global Partnership on Nutrients Management, I would like to express our sincere thanks to Hans, Mercedes, Williams, for sharing your insights on the phosphorus recycling and management, and also to Par and my colleagues Vanjiru and Jeffrey for your great support in organizing this webinar. This webinar is part of the series of technical webinars of GPNM. We aim to promote information exchange on the importance of nutrients flows and impacts to the global society. Promoting nutrients use efficiency while recovering and recycling nutrients from various waste streams can significantly reduce nutrient waste and enhance sustainability. And several global frameworks and agreements highlight
and urgency, including the SDG targets and also the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework targets to halve excess nutrients by 2030. We look forward to working with you to explore ways to reduce amount of excess nutrients in the global environment and consistent with the global development goals. Yeah. Back to you, William.
I don't think there's much more to say. Thanks, Ning. That's fantastic. We're leaving at 2:01, so good timing. Shame Talent couldn't make it, but I'm sure we'll hear from him in a later workshop. If anyone has any very burning questions, I'm sure they can contact Ning and the GPNM team and pass that on. I see there was a climate change question on impacts on cattle farming. I'm afraid, sorry we didn't get to that, Burkhard. But anyway, everyone enjoy their afternoons, evenings, mornings, wherever you are in the world. Take care. Goodbye.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.